They say betrayal hits hardest when it comes from the ones you love. But nothing prepares you for the day your fiancé proposes to your sister, with the same ring he once gave you. I remember standing in the corner of that banquet hall, the sound of clinking glasses, soft music playing in the background, and the cheers of people I once called family. My fingers trembled as I clutched the necklace he gave me, the one he called a promise forever. That same night I watched him slide a diamond ring onto Michelle's finger. The same design he and I picked out together. Let me take you back to where it all began. Maybe then you'll understand how deep betrayal cuts. We were high school sweethearts. The kind everyone rooted for. The shy girl who buried her head in books and the charming boy who seemed too good to be true. Maybe he was. For 7 years I gave him everything. My time, my dreams, my loyalty, my heart. I never imagined he'd rip it from my chest and hand it to my sister. Michelle was always the star. The one with the perfect smile, perfect hair, perfect life. She walked into every room like it was made for her. And I was the background character. The quiet sister. The dependable one. The one who made room for others to shine. I never resented her for it. Not until she took the one person I thought was mine. 3 months before it all fell apart, he proposed to me. It wasn't fancy, just a rainy night on our apartment balcony. He pulled out a ring and whispered, "It's always been you." I cried. Not because it was unexpected, but because it felt so right. We started planning the wedding. Venue, guest list, colors. He let me take the lead on everything. Or so I thought. Somewhere along the way, the man I loved started pulling away. He stopped asking how my day went. He'd stare off during dinner. He made excuses not to come to family events, unless Michelle was there. But I never thought to question it. Why would I? He was mine. I was his. Or so I believed. Michelle started acting strange too. Not cold, just distant. Like she knew something I didn't. Sometimes I'd catch her staring at me, biting her lip like she wanted to say something. But she never did. And I, like a fool, kept trusting both of them. Then came the message. I wasn't snooping. I swear I wasn't. His phone was on the table while he showered. A text popped up. I saw her name. I saw the heart emoji. And before I could stop myself, I opened it. "Can't wait to be yours." Finally. My stomach dropped. I stared at the screen, blinking, hoping I read it wrong. But then the next message came in. A picture. Her hand. My ring. The caption, "Forever starts now." I couldn't breathe. I remember standing there, shaking, frozen in that moment like time had stopped. My fiancé was in the shower humming our favorite song, while texting my sister about a future they planned behind my back. That's when it hit me. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This wasn't an accident. It was a choice. A betrayal that didn't happen overnight. They'd been doing this behind my back for months. Maybe longer. And I had no idea. I was just a placeholder. That night I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't confront either of them. I just sat in the dark, phone in hand, staring at the shattered pieces of the life I thought I was building. Because the truth wasn't just that they betrayed me. The truth was I never really saw them at all. No. I was about to show them exactly who they underestimated. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't cry either. It was like my body refused to feel anything at all. I just sat there in the quiet, watching the sky turn from black to gray through the bedroom window, replaying every moment that now felt like a lie. His laughter. His kisses. The way he held my hand in the dark. The way he used to whisper, "It's always been you." But it wasn't. It never was. Morning came and he walked out of the bathroom like nothing had happened. Hair damp. Shirt half buttoned. He kissed my cheek, asked if I wanted coffee. I said nothing. Just nodded. He didn't even notice the shift in my eyes. He didn't realize that something inside me had cracked open and started bleeding. He handed me a mug and went about his day, humming again. Like he hadn't just destroyed me. Like he wasn't betraying me with my own sister. That day I realized silence is powerful. Sometimes it's louder than screaming. It makes people think everything's fine even when your entire world is crumbling. And that's exactly what I needed them to believe. I wanted to scream. I wanted to smash that phone into his face. I wanted to drag Michelle by the hair and demand answers. But what would that do? What would I gain? Anger was too easy. They expected that. What they didn't expect was silence. What they didn't know was that I'd already started planning my exit, and something more. Over the next few weeks I played along. I smiled. I kissed him back. I even talked to Michelle like everything was normal. And the worst part? They were so comfortable in their betrayal they didn't even hide it anymore. Their glances lingered a little too long when they thought I wasn't watching. Her perfume started showing up on his shirts. And sometimes she'd come into the room and avoid eye contact, like guilt was clinging to her skin. I started writing everything down. Dates, messages, patterns. I needed proof. Not just for revenge but for clarity. I needed to understand how long they'd been playing me. How deep the betrayal ran. One night I followed him. He said he was going to a work meeting. But I knew better. I parked across the street from the hotel and waited. 30 minutes later, Michelle arrived in a red coat I bought her for Christmas. They hugged like lovers do. Not siblings-in-law. Not family. Lovers. They didn't even check the windows. They thought they were safe. Untouchable. I took pictures. Not because I needed them. But because one day, they would. That night I didn't go home. I drove to a cheap motel on the edge of town and stared at myself in the bathroom mirror. Who was I? A woman so invisible that the two people I loved most didn't even bother to lie properly? No. I wasn't invisible. I was underestimated. No. I was awake. It's funny how pain changes you. It doesn't always make you weaker. Sometimes it becomes fuel. And I was burning. I didn't want them back. I didn't want an apology. I didn't even want closure. I wanted to become someone they'd never see coming. So I made a promise to myself right there in that dim motel mirror. I would take everything they thought I needed from them, and build a life so loud, so bright they'd have to watch from the shadows. Because the best revenge is becoming unforgettable. The funny thing about losing everything is that it forces you to ask, what was I really holding on to? Because when I stepped back, when I finally let go of the fantasy I was clinging to, I saw it clearly. He wasn't the man I loved. He was the mask I fell for. Michelle? She had always competed with me, even when I didn't know we were playing a game. But this time I wasn't playing to win. I was playing to end it all. I didn't walk away from that motel a broken woman. I walked out a woman on a mission. First step, move in silence. Second step, remove myself from the world they thought they controlled. I packed my things while he was at work. No drama. No note. I took only what was mine. Especially the financial documents, the shared savings account information, and the legal proof that the apartment lease was in my name, not his. You see, while he was busy cheating, I had been paying the rent, building credit, saving, and I had leverage. By the time he got home, the apartment was half empty. My name was cleared from everything. The utilities were shut down. The locks were changed. I blocked him on everything. No text. No explanation. I wanted him confused. I wanted Michelle shaken. And I knew they would be because guilt feeds on silence. And I was giving them plenty. I moved in with an old college friend in the city, someone who had seen me through breakups, burnouts, and breakdowns. She didn't ask questions. She gave me space and a glass of wine. That night we talked for hours about everything I'd buried for years. I told her about how I gave up my writing dreams to support him while he found himself. How I turned down the publishing internship because he didn't want to move. How I helped Michelle out of her debts more times than I could count. And the worst part? None of it meant anything to them. So I made a list. Not a revenge list, not yet. Just a take my life back list. I started freelancing again. Ghostwriting. Content writing. Slowly my confidence returned. I found myself spending late nights in coffee shops, building a portfolio, sending pitches. Within weeks, I landed a remote job with a publishing startup in New York. And suddenly I was breathing again. Not just surviving, living. I cut my hair. Dyed it darker. Sharper. More me. For the first time in years I could look in the mirror and say, you're not who they said you were. I didn't post online. I didn't brag. But I knew they were watching. Michelle's little slip-ups. Liking an old photo, accidentally viewing my Instagram story, were all I needed to know. They were curious. Good. Let them wonder. One morning, my friend forwarded me an invitation from a mutual acquaintance. A private party. Black tie. Publishing elites. Editors. Writers. Investors. And guess who the keynote speaker was? Apparently, she had pivoted into motivational speaking. Something about empowerment and resilience. The same woman who slept with my fiancé while planning our wedding was now preaching about loyalty and healing? I almost laughed. But then I saw my opportunity. Not for drama. For something better. To show up. To rise. To remind them that I wasn't just still standing, I was thriving. Because revenge isn't always about destruction. Sometimes, it's about becoming everything they said you couldn't be. The night of the event, the city shimmered under soft rain and yellow streetlights. I arrived at the venue in a sleek black dress that hugged my new confidence like a second skin. Hair up. Eyes sharp. Lips red. I wasn't there to blend in, I was there to be seen. Not for them. For me. The doorman greeted me like I belonged. And for the first time in a long time I believed I did. Inside, the room was filled with everything I once dreamed of. Literary agents, best-selling authors, publishers in designer suits, champagne glasses dancing in people's hands. But none of it impressed me now. I had seen what glittered in the dark. I had survived the silence of betrayal. This was just the next chapter. Then I saw her. Standing on stage, all teeth and charm, telling a crowd full of strangers how she rebuilt her life after heartbreak. How she found herself after losing a piece of her soul. She had the nerve to stand there and use words she never earned. Words like strength, growth, forgiveness. I didn't laugh. I didn't cry. I just watched. And then the host announced a surprise. An open mic for writers to share new work. I hadn't planned on speaking. But my feet carried me to the stage like it was always meant to happen. I didn't introduce myself. I didn't need to. I opened my notebook and began reading an excerpt from a story I had written. The one inspired by them. The one they gave me by tearing me apart. It was about a woman who was betrayed by the two people she trusted most. A woman who disappeared in silence, only to rise in shadows and return brighter than ever. I didn't use names. But the room grew still. Eyes darted. People leaned forward. Some whispered. Michelle's face paled. Her smile twitched. Her fingers fidgeted at her sides. And somewhere near the back I saw him. My ex. The one who once held my hand under string lights and promised me forever. He didn't look proud or smug anymore. Small. When I finished reading, the room erupted into applause. Not polite, not forced, real. Honest. Loud. People approached me afterward. Publishers. Editors. One even offered me a book deal on the spot. But none of that mattered as much as the way she avoided me when I walked past. Michelle couldn't look me in the eye. And that was enough. I didn't need to ruin her night. I already had. Not by screaming. Not by exposing her. But by standing in the light of everything she tried to steal from me. I walked out of that ballroom with no need to look back. No need to gloat. Because I had just given them something they'd never forget. A front row seat to the woman they thought would stay broken. And that was the sweetest revenge of all. I thought I would feel different after that night. That I'd walk away glowing with satisfaction or maybe even feel some guilt. But what I felt was peace. Not the kind that comes from revenge. The kind that comes from finally choosing yourself. Because the truth is, I didn't win anything that night. I didn't get him back. I didn't expose Michelle. I didn't destroy what they built. I just reminded them that I was never the weak one. I was the one who stayed kind. The one who didn't lie. The one who loved with her whole heart, even when they didn't deserve it. And when I left, I didn't leave bitter. I left full. Full of stories I hadn't told yet. Full of strength I didn't know I had. Full of self-respect that no one could take from me again. A few days later I got an email. It was from him. Subject line, I owe you everything. I didn't open it. Then another from Michelle. No subject line. Just, please can we talk? I stared at the screen for a while. And then I deleted them both. Not out of hate. But because I didn't need to hear anything they had to say. I already knew the truth and that was enough. There's this idea we're taught, especially as women, that closure has to come from a conversation. An apology. A final explanation. But that's not real. Sometimes closure is just deciding you're done. That you're not going to hand someone else the power to hurt you again. Sometimes closure is walking away, quietly, gracefully, and never looking back. That's what I did. And for once, I didn't feel like a background character in someone else's story. I felt like the author. The one holding the pen. It's strange how life continues even after it feels like the world has fallen apart. A few months after the event, I signed the contract for my first book. It was a collection of short stories about women like me. Women who loved too deeply, trusted too blindly, and learned the hardest way what it means to be strong. Stories about betrayal, silence, reinvention, and power. Stories people like them never imagined I could write. I wasn't famous. I wasn't rich. But I was finally me. Unfiltered. Unafraid. I moved into a small apartment overlooking the city skyline. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. Every plant on the windowsill, every book stacked on the shelves, every quiet morning sipping coffee while the world buzzed below. It all reminded me that this life was built by my own hands. I had new friends now. Women who didn't compete, who didn't take advantage. Women who showed up when they said they would, who didn't smile through jealousy. I laughed more. I cried less. I began to believe in people again. Slowly, carefully. I still saw their names from time to time, on social media, in mutual friends' updates. They moved in together. He proposed again. A different ring this time. He said yes. Of course she did. And I felt nothing. No bitterness. No envy. Just distant observation, like watching a rerun of a show you stopped caring about. The necklace he gave me, the promise forever. I donated it to a women's shelter thrift shop. Let someone else wear it. Let someone else give it new meaning. I didn't need physical reminders of the girl I used to be. Because I had already buried her. Not out of hate. Not out of shame. But because she was no longer mine to carry. The woman I had become didn't wait for people to choose her. She didn't beg for loyalty or shrink herself to fit someone else's version of love. She knew what she brought to the table, and if someone couldn't see it, she knew how to eat alone. And maybe that's what healing really is. Not forgetting. Not pretending it didn't hurt. But standing in the mirror one morning and realizing. You survived. You turned the betrayal into a blueprint. You turned silence into a story. You turned heartbreak into fire. And you built something that no one can take from you ever again. So when people ask me now why I'm not angry, I smile. Because what they don't know is, I didn't just move on. I leveled up. And in the end, they didn't break me. They built the woman they never saw coming. The one who writes her own endings now. And this is just the beginning. Have you ever trusted the wrong people and had to rebuild yourself from the ground up? You're not alone. Share your story in the comments. Because sometimes healing starts when we speak it out loud. And if this story moved something in you, hit that like button, subscribe, and stick around. More stories like this are coming, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's next.